religion, secularism, atheism. Oh, okay. I think we're also live on YouTube. I see on Facebook, John is saying hi everyone on Facebook. Hi John. I see Chris on YouTube, Shubham, another godless atheist, GV. Who else is on Paul on Facebook is saying audio is good. All right, I think we. By the way, guys, like make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And yeah, and also subscribe to our newsletter. Link is in the description. All right, let's just get started, Rivka.
Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Atheist News.
Oh wow, that was great.
So the first item in the news is a 58-year-old Christian pastor charged with 115 felony sex counts. One of the victims was only 4. 58-year-old Rodney Dean Luffman was arrested in North Carolina and charged with 150 felony sex counts. 80 of the counts were for indecent liberties, and 35 were for sexual offenses. His victims range in age from 4 to 16, and these criminal acts allegedly occurred over a span of 15 years, I believe from 2000 to 2015. He's a Christian pastor at Open Arms Outreach Ministries, and I quote, sin-condemning church that believes in church and state separation because they don't believe that the government should have any say in what the church does. So this guy, when I was just Googling a little bit about this, I put in North Carolina pastor charged with sexual offenses, and a bunch of different ones came up.
Oh, so he's not alone. Like there's a whole bunch of cases. Even around the same area.
Yeah, recently the biggest one was this summer. A young guy, was 24, got charged with indecent, liberties with children and sexual offenses. So yeah. So yeah, if you just Google it, you get your pick.
How did he get away with it for 15 years? Like, how do these people get away with some stuff like that? 15 years. Like, the way I would imagine it, like, the first one, you get away with it. The second one, somebody says something and you get arrested. 115 cases? How?
Well, I think they're counting each act as a charge of indecent liberties with a child.
Right.
Because there's actually 3 victims, 2 men and 2 boys and 1 girl. And this happened over this span of time. So they're not releasing a whole lot about these kids to protect the kids, obviously. And the details of haven't come out too much. I even looked on local North Carolina papers, websites. So I'm guessing that over this period of years, he abused these 3 children.
Okay, so
all these times.
What do you say to people that would say that this has nothing to do with Christianity, this is just a horrible person?
I think that all of these insular communities, very insular communities, this is a potentiality, especially when people have a lot of power over either children or the families. I mean, you don't just see this with Christian groups. You see it, some Muslim women are talking about it. You see it with Jehovah's Witnesses. You see it and Jews. There's we were discussing earlier, a whole bunch of cases about children in yeshivas, which are Jewish schools, being abused. So I think it has to do with the, insular, isolated communities as well.
I think it's tied to religion in 2 different ways. One, undeserved trust and authority.
Yeah.
Undeserved trust and authority given to people with no credibility. Like in other scenarios, when parents put their children under care of somebody, it's people with designations, with the background, knowledge, with the, all the credentials and all the checks and, everything, right, like that, right? So, like But well, I mean, it's not perfect, but it's better than, oh, I'm like I'm a magic man, so give me your children, right? So so and people tend to trust that more for some reason, even though so it's undeserved trust. So
Mm-hmm.
that's reason number one. So reason number one is from practice. Uh, Not necessarily from the theology, but reason number two, I think that you could blame Christianity and other religions for this is the way sins work in some religions, especially Christianity, where you could be forgiven, where you have the understanding that everything is forgiven if you believe in Jesus, right? So a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
think that Christianity gives you morality, which is exactly the opposite. Christianity gives you the license to sin because all sins are forgiven through Jesus, right? So those are the two ways I think Christianity especially.
Well, I think you're right to some degree because this offender himself was apparently putting out all these tweets as this was going down, and he's saying bringing Christianity into it the whole time. And one of them was, Jesus has always had my back. There's no reason to feel he won't this time.
Oh.
So that almost implies that despite these despicable crimes, Jesus has his back.
Yeah, Jesus loves the sinners. That's his thing.
Right.
Yeah. By the way, I very much disagree with the comment here by Chew something. He says he posted a picture of a meat grinder, and he's saying start with the feet, work your way up. I don't believe in torturing people, no matter how bad the crime is. I don't even believe in killing them. Yeah, so I mean, we have discussed this many times. I don't support this. It doesn't matter how bad your crime is. Nobody deserves to be tortured or killed for their crimes. You have a justice system for a reason.
Yeah.
Nathan is saying, don't worry, guys. He'll just ask for forgiveness, and all will be well. Exactly, that's what we said as well. And Matthew is saying, why does this not warrant a death penalty? Is my question. Well, because the justice system is not meant to. The justice system, Rivka, I'm hearing paper.
Okay.
The justice system is not meant to be there to satisfy your desire for revenge. That's not the purpose of the justice system. The purpose of the justice system is to do whatever is required to protect society for more harm. So whatever studies shows that will discourage people the most or get less people to commit crimes, we'll go with that. And if studies shows that capital punishment doesn't work, I don't care how much revenge you desire, we're not going to go with that, because we're not going to go based on feelings and urge for revenge and wanting to see people suffer because of their crimes. We want the justice system to do something that will reduce the number of crimes and reduce the number of people that will get harmed. Studies will give me a better answer than your emotional outrage. Yeah, what do you
Also,
say?
that's not a crime in North Carolina where the penalty is death. So
What? Oh.
So I was going to say, in addition, there are capital crimes in the United States, and this one isn't.
Yeah, no, but he's asking the person.
Oh, like in general, yeah.
The person asking why isn't it, like as in it should be.
Oh, right, as a hypothetical. Got it.
He's saying this person should be killed.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let me.
Okay.
Hold on. Next news.
So the next news is a Ugandan Imam is facing life in prison after he accidentally married a man. And the headline says, proving just how homophobic this East African country is. A Ugandan Imam is facing life imprisonment after he accidentally married a man. Sheikh Mohammed Mutumba exchanged vows with his bride, in quotes, Swabhamala Nabukira. Sorry if I've butchered this. In an Islamic ceremony. He met Nabukira at a mosque and only ever saw them wearing a hijab or a gumse, which is a traditional Ugandan floor-length dress. Nabukira was actually a cis man named Richard Tumbashe, who had duped Mutumba in a bid to get his money. Tumbashe was charged with an unnatural offense, that's the name of the crime, impersonation, theft, and obtaining goods by false pretenses.
The person
The
that
latter,
the person
yes,
that got
the bride.
The bride, okay.
Or they were referring to him, the police were referring to him as the man bride.
Okay.
The obtaining goods by false pretenses that latter charge refers to the dowry, which was 2 goats, 2 bags of sugar, 3 dresses, a carton of salt, and a Quran. Although Mutumba committed no crime himself, that's the Imam he married, he had actually sought counsel over his wife's refusal to consummate the marriage. He has been taken into court and charged with having carnal knowledge with a person against the order of nature. And this particular charge can carry a potential penalty of life in prison.
Wait, I don't understand. So even if you're like a homophobic country, which Uganda is one of the worst, right? Uganda is one of the worst. But the people, the judges, and everybody knows that this guy. So he married somebody that was a man, but who was actually a woman, and the bride. So he
married someone he thought was a woman who was actually a man.
Yeah, but and he's not gay, right? The person that married him was just trying to get his money, right?
That's what it's believed. And
Right.
actually, the person who married him, the man bride, which was how he was being referred to by the police, has actually duped a bunch of other men, a number of other men. Maybe not to the point of marriage, but he's tricked them into believing he was a woman, and they'd fallen in love with him, and then later she would steal the money.
Because of the hijab?
Hijab and maybe the conservative clothes, and they're probably not having any kind of premarital relations.
Right.
So apparently the police commander in that district had said that this person had actually done something similar. But with regard to the imam, another imam at the mosque said that he had to dismiss him and have him charged to protect the integrity of the faith. That was that guy's
But that
quote.
doesn't make any... Okay, well, none of this makes any sense, of course.
Right, exactly.
But this makes even less sense because you're like even in Islam with all the nonsense. Wait, this is not this. Okay, even in Islam.
Well, they're supposedly
hold on. Let me say something. Let me say, because the guy didn't know that this is even if you want to look past their homophobia and how ridiculous it is for somebody to be charged for having sex with another man, this guy didn't know. Like, it was unintentional. Are they that stupid? Like, do they not think, like, why are we punishing somebody that did something that he didn't know that was doing? Are they just, like, out of their minds? Like, is that how... I don't want to use, like, the R word, but...
They said, this other head imam of all the imams was doing it to protect the integrity. And then I also was reading some African news, like Ugandan Street, which is this segment of African news. And some activists, gay activists and LGBT activists, said that they didn't believe that this imam actually knew. They thought it was some sort of what they would call like lavender relationship, like a cover. But then other people were saying, no, he was genuinely tricked. And I'm thinking maybe that's the case as well, because apparently he went to counseling about the fact that his wife, fake wife, was refusing to consummate the marriage.
Yes.
And he said that she wouldn't take off her clothes in front of him. So it sounds like he honestly thought she was a woman and he was seeking advice as to how to deal with the situation.
Yeah, that's proof that he thought after the marriage, he thought this is a woman. So, like, what else could you need? Like, what's the point of jailing this guy? I don't understand. It's so weird. It's so bizarre. I mean, it's...
Well,
it's good to see that Uganda being embarrassed for. I mean, honestly, man. I mean, this Imam, by the way, he himself would probably support somebody going to jail for having. I'm just guessing, by the way, because he's an Imam. That he would probably,
Right.
if any other case, if somebody went to jail for having gay sex, he would be like, "Yeah, that's good. You should go to good jail." But so I don't know if I don't have any sympathy for this guy, but it's just so bizarre. Like
It
it's
is
so
bizarre.
backward. Like Uganda, like is fitting in the stereotype that it is. Like Uganda is like one of those s-hole places that it is actually like, yeah, you fit. This is what you expect from Uganda. Like what the hell?
And you know what's interesting too is I was also looking at some more African news sites, and some of them were making fun of the guy and like mocking him, you know, ha ha ha, you married a man. I mean, all these very unkind things so on both sides of it, you know, and then saying terrible things about the bride as well. And, you know, the previous anti-gay law that they had in 2014, you know, had like a death by hanging for what they called offenses against nature. So, I mean, yeah, the whole society is really
All right.
very homophobic.
So the top comment is by Ian. He's saying, "Geez, almost happened to me last week in Thailand. Was off to get married to a stunning lady I had just met. Went to the church and she pulls in. She does a perfect parallel park, and I was like, hang on a effing second." So the perfect parallel park gave it away.
No, maybe you asked her where she wanted to go to dinner and she told you an actual place.
Jay is saying, to be fair, I intentionally married a man and it still didn't work out. Some you win, some you lose. And Eric is saying God works in mysterious ways. Joanne is saying, is that a copy of the Quran in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me? Okay. All right.
Oh, that's funny.
Shopam saying, nothing about this news really makes sense. Uganda is bizarre with stupid laws. Yeah, actually, I really want to go to Uganda, but I'm scared, so I'm not gonna go.
Well, you know what's really interesting? That there's a film all about Uganda, about how it was a lot of these very virulent anti-gay and homophobic ideas were kind of imported to some degree by Christian evangelicals.
Right.
Trying to think of what the name of the film is, but it's a whole film about this and these dominionists who brought a lot of this. And the guy who wrote a book called Scott Lively, he was the one that a lot of this is.
What's the name of the movie? I might watch it.
Oh, I'm trying. I want to watch it. I got to remember now. I can't find it. As soon as I remember, I'll shout it out.
No, don't shout it out because we're going to be in the middle of the next news. And
well, I mean, yeah.
Okay.
But,
all right, we have to move on.
We got to move on. Godless Uganda.
Godless,
God loves you. God loves Uganda.
Wow, you're so atheist because you read God loves and you said God.
I read it as godless. Yes, God loves Uganda.
Such an atheist. Yeah. All right, okay, let's move on to.
Okay, so
wait. Let me load it. Okay, next news.
The next piece of news is that protesters at Kentucky Capitol tell Muslim children that Islam is a false religion. The Council on American Islamic Relations shared a video that shows a group of Muslim students boarding a school bus outside the Kentucky Capitol in Frankfort, Kentucky, while three men tell them over a handheld loudspeaker device, that Islam is a false religion and Jesus Christ is the only one who can save you. The students were in Franklin for the first Muslim Day at the state capitol, which the group's Kentucky chapter organized as an opportunity to have members of the Muslim community meet with legislators and advocate for various issues. At the start of the roughly 3.5-minute video, students can be seen boarding a school bus while a man with a small microphone and speaker is heard saying, "The Muslim faith is a false religion. Islam is a false religion. You must repent of your sins and come to Jesus Christ or you will go to hell."
How old are these kids?
Most of them were middle school age.
I think
So,
it's fine to tell them, like, they're not like, you're not going up to like 4-year-old kids and shouting to them that
and
they
weren't going up to him. They were just standing. I mean, I
Yeah.
think you should leave kids out of it. But here's my take on it that I find really interesting is that these people always come to events and shout at whomever, and the CARE is saying that this is a form of anti-Muslim bigotry.
No.
And so what I want to know is when they yell it at other people, is that a form of, anti-Jewish bigotry? Is that a form of anti-Hindu bigotry? Is that a form of atheist bigotry? So because in the United States especially, people have the right to do that.
Right. So
and they're
I
in
don't
a
see the
public
problem with this.
space,
Yeah.
and all they're doing is just yelling their stupid belief,
Yeah.
which they do at all kinds of events.
I mean,
when they yell it at Muslims, it's discrimination and bigotry, but when they yell it at everybody else, it's just not very nice.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't understand.
That's a very good point. I mean, okay, so if they were going to the kids, by the way, these are not to the kids, and in their face, like, harassing them, this would be obviously abuse, and they should be arrested. But if you're just standing where you are and preaching, I mean, yeah, they're stupid and they have stupid beliefs, but it should but it should be allowed. Like, it's anti-Muslim bigotry to tell other people the things that you believe in. Like, no, you're just dumb and you have dumb beliefs. And you're that's a very fair point. If these people were doing this next to atheist kids, people wouldn't be that offended compared to.
They might say it's not fair to do that to minors. But other than that, I don't think they would in any way call it bigotry. And then another point that...
if it's wrong because they're kids, then you can't technically advertise your views in public places anywhere because their kids might be walking around and they might hear you. Right, go on.
Exactly. The other point that I thought was really interesting is... I watched the whole video, and some of the things the guy says is that your parents need to be ashamed and shamed, not ashamed, but shamed for having a false religion. And
I agree, and so should they.
And then he also said that, they have the right to say this, and your parents should not teach you these things, and they should be ashamed of you, and you should be ashamed of them, which I think is really interesting, because one of the things that you hear a lot from not just Muslims, other religious people, but oftentimes Muslim families members, they should shame or shun people who
disagree with
change the religion or leave the religion, and now these people are upset that someone else is basically saying similar things to what is in their holy book.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, these people are not very nice. I want to use a different word, but YouTube doesn't let me, or else this video will get deprioritized. So, a-holes. Can I say that? Yeah, these people are that. But, so these, I mean, obviously, but I don't understand why does this... I think this is only getting coverage because the kids were Muslim. If the kids were any other, which is a form of... So basically, this is not only not anti-Muslim bigotry. To me, this is Muslim privilege, because other kids wouldn't get this much of a attention. I mean, I had these people coming at me and shouting in my face. I remember that was in Vegas, right? And these people have no concern. I'm pretty sure they would do that to me even if I was a kid. So, but they must be doing it all the time. I mean, yeah. So, Let me see actually what the comments say. What, you going to say something?
I was going to say that there was a guy who used to stand downtown and yell this. When I was in college, they were there almost every day at the square yelling this kind of thing. And I think that the reason it's getting the press is because of CARE, the Council on Islamic Relations, because from my perspective, whenever I see them bring anything forward, I don't really see them protecting or advocating for people, for Muslims. I see them advocating for Islam, for the faith.
Right. So Curtis, yeah, and they love it when they're attacked like this. Yeah, actually, these Islamic groups in United States and other places, you think they get like when they hear a story like this, they're like, oh no, this is a tragedy. Or like, no, they're like, yes, we're relevant again. Let's go and pick up this news. The top comment is by Kurt. He's saying, well, they are not wrong about that. I think about the fact that the religion is Islam,
false religion.
False religion. All right, and then Kurt continues, but hassling kids? I think you mean harassing kids. Harassing kids is uncool.
Hassling's a word too.
Okay, hassling kids is uncool. If the protesters feel their own religion is true, they would be incorrect, in my opinion. In the U.S., you have the right to believe whatever crap you like, as long as you don't expect others to accept it. Actually, I don't agree with that. I think you could also, in the United States, you have the freedom to believe what you want, but you also have the freedom to expect other people to believe your religion. That's not against the law in the United States. I mean, it's a stupid expectation unless you convince them logically, but as long as you don't expect other people to believe in you, no, you could. It's free in the United States to expect others to believe your religion. So you're wrong with that, Kurt. But I don't understand the freedom to believe what you want. That's a stupid rule because it's impossible to remove that freedom from anybody anyways. You could force people to pretend that or act like they don't believe in a certain religion or don't practice a religion, but there's no way at all to force somebody to stop believing what they want. How, like, freedom to believe. Freedom to believe? How are you going to remove that freedom? Like, somebody explain to me, how are you going to remove that freedom? So it should be freedom to practice. Freedom to practice.
Or express it.
Freedom to practice your religion, freedom to express your religion, those make sense to me. But freedom to believe your religion is a useless terminology because there's no way yet to stop somebody from believing whatever they want. Right?
I just want to say, like, watch the video. I do feel like yelling at kids is uncool.
Yeah.
But they weren't in the kid. They were on the sidewalk, and the kids were several feet away from them, getting in and out of a school bus. So it wasn't as if they were directly in front of the kids.
Right.
If they were, in the kid's face.
Right.
So it was
we're such a fair channel, right? Like, we are like, if we're like so biased with anything anti-Christian or anti-Islamic, we're like, yeah, these stupid Christians, they're so evil. Like, but we're like very objective. Like, I think we're the most objective channel there is. So
all right, I dropped my
paperwork
synopsis. Okay, here we go. Yeah.
All right. Hold on. Let me load the next news.
Okay.
Give me a sec. Subscribe to our channel. That's what I was trying to get at. Anyways, next
because
news.
We're fair and balanced.
Yeah. All right, next news.
Okay, the next story is Insta-bikie and convicted killer Moudi Tajjour says the deadly Wuhan coronavirus sweeping the world is Allah's revenge for China's persecution of Muslims. An Instagram famous bikie and convicted killer has claimed the Wuhan coronavirus sweeping across the world is Allah's revenge for China's persecution of millions of Muslims. Retired Nomads president Moudi Tajjour took to Snapchat saying Allah created the killer virus. He then goes on to cite a verse from the Quran, and you are unaware of what they going to do. That's what it says. So Allah is great. Never forget this. So, yeah, this guy in Australia tweeted a couple things saying that this was Allah's revenge for this horrible treatment of Uyghurs, which the treatment of Uyghurs is horrible, and he's right about that. But Allah making up a special virus just for China, and then what happens to the innocent Australians who accidentally get the virus? Did they also do something to make Allah mad? It's ridiculous. And this guy actually went to jail for killing someone.
Right.
So I'm not sure, like what a great source he is in terms of respectability.
So God is so weak these days because this virus is not that big of a deal, at least yet. I think that people are panicking. Okay, how many people? Okay, so it's tragic. All deaths are so sad. Yeah, I know that. Okay, so but how many people have died so far from this coronavirus?
The updated is 304 people. And worldwide, the number of cases are 13,874,
Okay.
Of which 13,742 are all in China.
Okay, but how many people you say died?
304, according to this morning's update.
Let's say 500. Let's say, I don't know, let's say 1,000. Okay? You know how many people die from the flu every year? Every year. Do you know how many? 646,000. 646,000 people die from the flu every year. So I don't know. I'm not saying this virus is not a big deal. I'm not saying that the governments should react the way they're reacting. But people are losing their minds over they think this is the end of the world. Why? Why is this it's 300 people so far have died. Why is it? What is it about this virus that is capturing people's imagination so much?
I don't know. Maybe because it starts off just so commonplace, like a cold, and so everyone thinks it's just spread so easily.
But the flu does that too. The flu does.
I know. I don't know. I mean, people are irrational. But also, the U.S. just Friday afternoon, the U.S. declared it a national health emergency. And they've banned any foreign nationals who aren't direct immediate family members or who are permanent residents of the United States. If they've come from any of these provinces, they're temporarily banned from coming into the United States. And any of the Americans who they airlifted out of the Wuhan province are all government quarantined for 2 weeks. So people are losing their shit.
Okay, you swore now. This video is gonna get deleted.
Oops!
It's okay.
They're losing their stuff.
Too late. No, but yeah. So Allah, I don't know. So what's the flu in response? Why is Allah doing the flu then? What is that in response to?
Because China's been bad to Muslims.
No, the flu. The flu is everywhere.
Oh well, maybe I don't know. Our general sins.
Okay. But why do we have an emergency against this virus and we don't have a annual emergency every year against the flu, given that it's more than 500,000 people die every year from the flu? I don't get people's I don't understand people's reaction. It's kind of the difference between people being scared of plane accidents instead of car accidents, which is astronomically more risky. It's the same way that people get so scared about atomic bombs rather than the Kalashnikov, the gun, the Russian gun. Even the Kalashnikov is responsible for astronomically much higher number of deaths than the atomic bomb. It's the same reason people get upset over school shootings. They should get upset, but get a lot more attention over school shootings, even though much higher number of people die from shootings on a day-to-day basis in the United States that are not school shootings, right? So I don't know why. I don't understand the level of reaction people have to these things. It's just not proportional to the actual harm.
Well, that for sure, it's not proportional. I think so. There's some element of just fear, and then the media fear mongering, and then there may be even an element of what they call xenophobia. like some bigotry saying, oh, it's this weird Chinese virus. It's from over there. It could be all of those things combined.
GV is saying, I think the reaction is because the flu has a cure and the coronavirus doesn't yet. Well, the flu has a cure, but it's still killing over 500,000 people a year. So, but the deaths are still higher. I have to learn how to pronounce this person's name because he's a very good contributor in our live chat. Vaibhav is saying, Pakistan is not taking back its students from China. What the F is wrong with them? Wow, so amazing. Like United States and France are like going into China trying to save all their citizens and airlifting them out of China. And Pakistan is like, you guys just stay there. Don't bring your disease back to Pakistan.
Live or die.
Don't come home. All right, let me see what the top comment is. Rex is saying, I'm still waiting for what punishment that will fall on Myanmar for their cruel treatment of the Rohingya Muslims more than a decade ago. Oh yeah, so why did God forget to punish Myanmar?
Yeah.
Kent is saying, with that logic, the earthquakes took place in Indonesia and Turkey are due to this guy. It's a fat Buddha picture. Leon is saying, Allah's really not very powerful at all. Then okay, this is bad English. If this is the best he can do, yeah. I mean, what happened to him? Like he used to like rain fire from the sky, and I'm like, now it's like, oh, you put 1 million Muslim in concentration camps, and I'm just gonna put a disease that kills 300 of you. Like he used to be like a lot more powerful. I think he lost his touch, and he's not very good at targeting anymore because, like you said, like he's getting Australians and all that. Anyways, let me see. Asrar is saying, so many of the biker gangs have been taken over by Lebanese people. What does that got to do with our news? Anyways, let me go to the... It's loading. Next news.
Okay. This isn't on here as a list, but I've got an
Paula White?
Sorry, I might have it. Well, okay, here we go. Sorry, I've got it all messed up here. I apologize. My order was messed up. Paula White, who is the White House Faith Counsel, said Christians must pray that satanic pregnancies end in miscarriage.
Wow.
So,
what's a satanic pregnancy?
Around the same time that White House...
You know what? Before you say anything, I don't have a baby yet, but if my wife and I ever get decide to have a baby, I want her to have a satanic pregnancy. How do I get one of those? I want to know. But go on.
You have to ask Lucian Graves. Okay, around the same time that White House spiritual advisor Paula White was telling lies about how prayer reduced crime after 9/11, she was also stepping up her calls for prayers for the president. Apparently, the Secret Service can't do much to shield Trump from the animal kingdom and also from so-called satanic pregnancies. White needs to step in. She said, and I quote, "We cancel every surprise from the witchcraft, any spirit of control, any Jezebel. We come against the marine kingdom. We come against the animal kingdom. We break the power in Jesus' name. We command any satanic pregnancies to miscarry right now."
Against the marine kingdom? What is What are you
So he doesn't get swallowed by a whale like Jonah.
Is she talking about the Little Mermaid and her father? No, what? Can you explain? Like, is there any explanation? Why is she against the animal kingdom and the marine kingdom and satanic?
All of this has to... I don't know. The marine kingdom, all I can think of is Jonah.
She gets paid by the White House? This woman is on a payroll by the White House to defend the White House against the marine kingdom?
And the animal kingdom and satanic pregnancies. There's videos of her speaking in tongue. There's videos of her saying on her channel, You need to write me that check for $35,000 right now, or God will not grant you any favors. You need to send me your money. Write me that check for 50,000, 100,000, because if you don't, you're going to suffer in the afterlife.
How did she get a job in the White House? Like, how did she manage? And she probably gets paid a lot by the White House, doesn't she?
I don't know. Trump likes those store-bought blondes.
Oh, okay. But I don't understand. Oh my God. Look at here. Atheist Republic is struggling to make ends meet with donations. Our costs are higher than our donations, and we're actually providing you with great value. While this woman goes and says, we need to protect the White House from the Marine Kingdom and satanic pregnancies, and she's making more money that I've ever seen in 1 month than I've ever seen in my entire life. So,
not to mention the hypocrisy about miscarrying. Okay.
By the way, donate. Link in the description. Go on.
They're so anti any kind. A lot of them are anti-birth control. Obviously anti-abortion. But it's okay for God to make people that they don't like lose their babies. That's fine.
But what does she mean? I really want to know. What is a satanic pregnancy, and why is she afraid of the Marine Kingdom?
Honestly, I don't think it means anything.
Does she really think the animals in the sea, they have a king and a queen, and there's royalty down there somewhere? I don't get it. I wanna know what it means. Let me see what the top comment is. The top comment is by Bianca saying, "This nut job should have ended in a miscarriage. She needs a vacation in a hotel with soft walls, a complimentary cuddle coat, and free shots of Haldol.
It's a tranquilizer and a drug for mental illness and schizophrenia and stuff.
That got dark. Shupam is saying, crazy idea that a womb is in the same shape as a satanic symbol, so all pregnancies are satanic ones. Beej is saying, how does this not her being a witch and casting spells? Right! Beej is so this woman is anti-witchcraft, but she's she herself is acting like she's casting a spell to end pregnancies and cursing the animal kingdom and cursing the marine kingdom. She sounds like a witch.
She's a witch for Jesus.
She's a witch for Jesus. That's the only kind of witch she can be. The difference is the God people say oh, this is not our magical power. This is God's magical power. We're just going through us. So technically we're not witches because witches using their own magical powers. AKL
and their own will. That's a big difference. Witches use their will. These people are doing God's will. So there's your crucial difference.
That's it.
And also, go ahead. I wanted to say something.
No, go.
So Paula White and a lot of these people come from this element of Christianity, evangelical U.S. element of Christianity called dominionism, which says that Christians and God should have dominion over all the earth, all the people, believers and non-believers, all facets of society, the world. So her saying, that I'm going to, cast out the animal kingdom from doing any harm, or this group or that group, it just fits in with this dominionist worldview that they're in charge and should be in charge of everything.
I just imagine a scene from Narnia when the animals are going to attack the White House. Animal, the lions and horses are attacking the White House, and she's a witch in front of the White House. She's casting a spell against all the animals, trying to protect the president against all the animals attacking. Tommy is saying Satanic Pregnancies has to be a heavy metal band. If not, I am very disappointed. AKL561 is saying you're expecting irrational thought from this woman. Shupam is saying she doesn't have a black cat, and she's crying. Yeah. All right. Let me go to. Hold on. Next news.
Okay, a married couple in Dublin have been sentenced in Dublin Circuit Criminal Court over the female genital mutilation of their then 21-month-old daughter.
Muslim couple?
I think they're African. When I get to the
African Muslim?
they're not revealing the parents'
Because
names.
BBC trying to be PC by not mentioning the fact that they're Muslim? Because
They said that they're doing it to protect the child.
They could just say their religion. They can't say their religion.
Well, let me read
Okay,
the synopsis and we'll go through. Okay. So a 37-year-old man and his 27-year-old wife were jailed for 5.5 years and 4 years and 9 months, respectively, in November. In November, the couple pleaded not guilty to procuring an act of FGM on 16 September 2006. Their conviction was the first of its kind in the Republic of Ireland. The couple cannot be named to protect the identity of their child, who is now 5.
No,
Sentencing the couple, Judge Elma Sheerhan said the offense had resulted in serious harm to the child, who may suffer psychological or psychosexual effects in the future. The judge also said not only did it cause harm, she said that the couple had shown a lack of remorse and had not provided any insight into what had occurred and why they did what they did.
Yeah, I think again, everything is possible, but they're probably Muslim. And if that is the case, because FGM is female genital mutilation is an African thing, but it's also mostly a Muslim African thing. And it's also a Muslim thing in some places that is not even African.
Mm-hmm.
But, so if it is Muslim, and they're not mentioning it's a Muslim, this is such Muslim privilege again. Because I bet you if they were Christian, they would say, oh, this is a Christian. Like, if they were, they would be, when a pastor, for example, molests children and stuff, they're not going to hide it. They're like, it's a pastor, right? They say, oh my God, another pastor. But why are they hiding? I don't know if they're Muslim or not, but if they are, this really angers me.
It just says that they're of African origin. But a couple things, just to see how serious this case was. So they had this, horrible mutilation done to her, and she was bleeding so profusely. The doctor, or the guy who did it, was not a doctor, and he wasn't licensed as a surgeon. And so the parents took her to the emergency room, and they told the emergency room people that she fell and slipped on a toy, and that it caused this penetration and caused her to start bleeding. But she was bleeding so much that she was almost in shock, and she had to undergo emergency surgery. That's how bad this was.
Wow, that's so sad. Did they arrest the person that did the FGM?
And that's the thing I can't figure out, whether they arrested this guy or not.
By the way, the live chat vibrantly is saying, I don't even know why I comment. My stuff isn't ever read. Well, tag Atheist Republic in the YouTube live chat. That's how I know that you want me to read it. Or else I can't read all the conversations, because I don't know which one of them is again for us and which one of them is just between you guys. So you need to tag us. Thank you, Chris, for mentioning that. Anyways, Vabe is saying how to fight against FGM. Again, FGM is female genital mutilation and male circumcision in India without hurting people's sentiments. But you by not worrying about people's sentiments, you just go out. You have to fight both of these things. Forget about worrying about people's sentiments. I mean, both of these should be legal. Both female genital mutilation and male circumcision, they both should be illegal. You're cutting up babies. Come on. How is this? Honestly, none of this would. If religion was not around, people would be shocked. I mean, they should still be shocked. They're cutting up babies. Perfect bodies.
Well, they say that approximately 6,000 women or girls in Ireland have already undergone FGM. And Irish law makes it illegal for parents to take their daughters out of the country or abroad to be subjected to FGM as well. So whether you do it in Ireland or whether you bring them somewhere else and then bring them back, it's also illegal. But there's nothing in here about what happened to the person that they procured it from. So maybe they left the country. But just to talk about this, so this happened with this young girl in Ireland, and her parents were rightfully convicted. But, you know, we just heard about the news about the Egyptian 12-year-old girl who died.
Yes. I heard that as well.
You know, luckily this young girl is still alive and she was saved. This young girl she died, and they have her parents, her aunt, and the doctor who carried out the procedure. They're all detained, but they say that, you know, they don't know, you know, what's going to happen, if they'll be prosecuted. It's certainly not to the level that these people in Ireland did. So it's a horrible crime, not to mention a horrible thing to do to children, but it puts their life in danger.
Bernita is saying FGM is also practiced in Indonesia. It arrives there due to Islam, I think. Yeah, it does. It is because of Islam. A lot of people try to protect Islam because female genital mutilation, a lot of people in the civilized world get so shocked about how disgusting and how bad it is. I think they should also be disgusted about for male circumcision, but female genital mutilation really captures people's attention. So I think to defend Islam against FGM. By the way, be careful with the enemies. If to defend Islam against female genital mutilation, a lot of people try to make it seem like it's an African thing rather than an Islamic thing, which doesn't work because first of all, it's in Islam, it's in the Hadith that you're supposed to do it. Second of all, then why is it in Indonesia? Why is it in Indonesia? Indonesia is an Islamic country and not in Africa. A lot of other people try to make it seem like not Islamic by pointing out some examples of other people doing it. But we're not saying it's exclusive to Islam. We're saying Islam condones it. For example, slavery and sex slavery. When we say Islam supports slavery and sex slavery, that doesn't mean that other people did not do slavery. We're just saying Islam condones it. Anyways, let me see what the top comment is. The top comment is by Joe. By Joe is F this SHIT. They shouldn't be able to do it to boys either, though. It's barbaric and unneeded. If someone wants that, let them make that choice when they are older. Don't do it because a 6,000-year-old book told you to do it. Yeah, I mean, if you want to cut off any parts of your body, do it as an adult, right? If you want to cut off your genitals, if you want to cut out your arm, if you want to cut out your nose, if you want to cut out your ear, don't do it to kids. Just let them get old, and they can cut whatever they want when they have the decision to make. It's so bizarre because if you put a tattoo on a baby, people get outraged. If you put like earrings on a baby without their consent because they're not old enough to decide, people get outraged. But cut out their genitals, and yeah, it's okay. Like what the hell? Cindy is saying good. Hope it stops others. They're talking about the jail sentence, but this is not just. I mean, the problem is that this is in Dublin. It's happening. So the numbers that this is happening in like Egypt and other Islamic countries are so huge. Like, I wish this was the law over there. Anyways, let's just okay. Let me see. Vibrantly, I'm gonna read your comment even though you didn't tag us. Still, where is it? Well, where is Vibrantly's comment? It went up all the way up there because he was getting sad. Vibrantly is saying, but what about if you want to buy a wife from a king? If not foreskins, what other currency would one use? That's right. That's funny.
The rape of Dinah. Yes.
Chris. Yeah, but make sure that's a very cool comment, Brinley. Like, make sure you tag us so I read them. That's pretty good. Chris is saying FGM is mostly an African thing practiced by one Jewish group in Ethiopia, very few Christian groups, but mostly Muslim groups. Yeah, but it's Muslim groups in Africa that are Muslim. Yeah, so Africa it's mostly in Africa, but mostly in the Muslim parts. And you can see it's in the Hadith. Scamux is saying off topic. No, don't no off topic. Another godless atheist is saying, I think circumcision was brought about for the sole purpose of making sex not enjoyable, because enjoying sex is a sin and amoral, in my opinion. Well, actually, there's a lot of good theories on why circumcision started, but I'm not going to get into those because that will make this episode very, very long. All right, let's go to the next news.
Well, I just want to say, as a Jew, my opinion always was that the God of Abraham demands blood sacrifice.
Right.
So that's why. But okay, the next news. On a Christian website, it says the Bible says an asteroid will crash into Earth in 2029. So that's it. We only got 9 more years, you guys.
9 more years.
Christian writer Thomas Horn would like you to know that an asteroid is going to crash into the Earth in 2029. And the Bible proves it.
Of course.
Revelation 8 and the first 4 trumpet judgments appear to describe the different stages of a singular event, a large asteroid impact on planet Earth. This is his quote, which I predict is coming in 2029 in the form of the asteroid Apophis. I now believe, in fact, if you were to ask a scientist, as I did, to explain why these verses seem to depict this, they would tell you that the details in Revelation 8 very much match the sequence of either a binary asteroid, which is 2 asteroids orbiting a common barycenter, the area of mass around which 2 or more bodies orbit, accompanied by smaller fragments, or the breakup of a larger asteroid into 2 main portions accompanied by tons of smaller debris as it enters the Earth's atmosphere and is followed by impact. So according to this guy, he sounds like he's trying to make a specious argument. Like, on its face, it makes sense that there's some asteroids that orbit things and they do things and they have smaller fragments and they break up. But all of that has been ordained in Revelation 8.
What does Revelation 8 say?
I don't know. That this is where we need the Christians.
Right.
Because that's from the New Testament.
Right. So, yeah.
That's that end time stuff.
Yeah, I read the book of Revelation. It's pretty dark, but yeah, this is pretty. Does this still work? Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure like a whole bunch of people are gonna start believing in it. But I think this guy is smart. Like, don't say the world is gonna end next year, because you can't like milk that. Like, how much money can you get from that? Like, you have 1 year, and then the world doesn't end, and then like, oh no, I was wrong. You have to put it 9 years so that it's close enough for people to capture people's like fears, but not close enough for you not to be able to raise money, too much, enough money. Like, it shouldn't be too close. But did he say that the world is going to end because of this asteroid? According
to him, it will crash into Earth in 2029.
Imagine if somebody came and said, like, I predict that the Earth was going to be hit by an asteroid according to the Quran or Bible or whatever. And like, people are like, oh no, it's going to be the end of the world. And he was like, no, it's not, it's going to be fine. It's just going to be...
It's just going to hit.
It's just going to hit. It's going to be small. It's going to go into the ocean. I have this huge prediction, but it's going to go in the ocean, and we'll all be fine. People are like, oh, what?
Well, the thing is, there's been so many Christian predictions about when the Earth is going to end. So you're saying, like, it has to be not so close, so people, aren't like, what do you mean? You said last week and it didn't happen, but far enough away that he can raise money, and also far enough away that he can go, oh, I'm redoing my calculations. It's not 2029, it's 2039. Now give me more money,
Right. So Chris is saying an asteroid crashing into the Earth doesn't mean the Earth would end. Depending on the size, it would either burn up in the atmosphere or break apart and cause some damage. Vibrantly just tagged Atheist Republic, but there's no comment next to the tag. Um, Jade is the
Maybe. Go
wait.
ahead.
Jade is saying the Bible doesn't say that. There's a near-Earth asteroid coming in 2029. So this guy basically took the prediction that the asteroid is coming, and he just worked backwards instead of saying, "I did like, oh, I see it in the Bible." So Jade is saying there's an asteroid actually coming in 2029, but it's probably not going to hit, and it was only discovered relatively recently. To date, there is nothing that we know of that will hit. Now that is only what can be seen. If it comes unexpectedly from the direction of the sun, well, we're effed. Oh, okay. So nothing that we see right now. So there is an asteroid coming that is going to pass Earth in 2029, very close, but not going to hit it. And nothing that we see is ever going to hit Earth. And they're saying that if it there might be some coming from the direction of the sun, because apparently if it's coming from the direction of the sun, it's really hard to see. Oh, Vibrantly has a comment with a tag. Vibrantly is saying Revelation 8 is a new international version is saying the seventh seal and the golden center 8. Oh, okay, that's verse 8. When he opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. Yeah, that's definitely an asteroid. It couldn't be anything else.
Well, I was thinking if the asteroid hits, maybe it's Allah going to target it to a specific group in order to punish them for something.
Yeah, Allah and Jesus.
According to the biker.
Right. Shopam is saying, can Jesus appear before 2029 to his people like they have been predicting for centuries? Vibrantly continues the verse saying, and I saw the seventh angel who stand before God, and 7 trumpets were given to them. Yep, definitely asteroid. All right, let's go to the next news.
Okay, so this story is about Aaron Rodgers. For those of you who either don't follow sports ball or don't live in the United States, he's an American football player on the Green Bay Packers. And he said, how can anyone believe in a God who sends people to hell? And it's caused a lot of consternation, let me just tell you. So, about a month ago, Aaron Rodgers, an American quarterback, gave an interview to Danica Patrick, who is the first female race car driver, who's also his girlfriend, for her Pretty Intense podcast, and he opened up about his religious skepticism. He spoke about joining a Christian group and when he was younger, and he even went on memorable missionary trips, but his priorities changed once he got to college. He said he learned about other religions, and he realized a lot of religious claims are equally absurd. He added, I don't know how you can believe in a God who wants to condemn most of the planet, to a fiery hell. Like, what type of loving, sensitive, omnipresent, omnipotent being wants to condemn most of this beautiful creation to a fiery hell at the end of all this? So yeah, I listened to the whole thing, and it was he and his girlfriend, and he talked a lot about his missionary trips, which he really enjoyed. And he said they went to Mexico and they helped people build houses. And he felt like that was meaningful. But then he said when he would go to church, people were just very much, he kept using the word, he said it was a crutch, and he kept using the words binary. It's binary. It's an us versus them, saved versus unsaved, good versus bad. And he said that he believes that this just makes people feel better about themselves. It doesn't actually help anybody.
Yeah, simple black and white, good versus evil nonsense.
Right. And so that's basically what he said. And then he got to this point about, I don't know how you can believe in a God. But he was mostly just saying, he's not, really comfortable with this kind of, and he kept saying binaries and this dividing the world up to people who are good or bad based on, these beliefs.
Beach in the live chat is saying someday we will get to the point we can say something like that and people will just shrug. Yeah, I hope so. Like, this guy got like such a huge reaction for saying something so normal and reasonable, right?
Well, American football is so tied up in the God country, mindset that I think that people lost their mind. Oh, also his parents are very religious. And his mother went on, some news show and said, that's not how you were raised.
What?
We didn't raise you to like this.
They have like no answer. They don't like. Well, here's the answer. Here's what like. Yo, don't be so like what like they're so be evil. What this like? Give an answer at least. At least try to give an answer to his question. Yeah, go ahead.
Basically, his mom went on national television and said she was very disappointed in him. Right. I mean, like, come on.
What else? What other reactions? Like, this is a big news, right? Because is this guy famous?
Yeah, he's an American football player. And, like, that was part of the thing is that a lot of people, like, he won't come right out. He doesn't come right out and say he's an atheist, which in the United States can be suicide, Although I still say they'll forgive football players anything. There's tons of football players who have abused women, gone to jail for sexual assault, done drugs.
I think the atheists need to go and show this guy support so that he sees at least that the reaction is not all negative, so that there's some people welcoming him. And be like his question. I think this is a good thing. More famous people need to publicly mention their doubts, mention their skepticism. It will encourage more people to be like, yeah, actually I had that question as well, but I never thought it would be okay to ask, right? So it just opens the door to a whole other people. Lindsay is the top comment saying, "Oh, I believe some people should burn in hell. Whether hell is actually a thing or not, who the F knows, but I would say, who would believe in a God who is all-loving, who sends people to hell just for not believing in him?" So Lindsay is saying, yeah, sending people to hell for just not believing in him is ridiculous, but some people should go to hell. I completely disagree with that. There's nothing, absolutely nothing you can do that will make you deserving of going to hell. I don't care what example you come up with. The worst thing you could actually do in the world is to create hell for people to go to, right? So the most evil character, fictional or otherwise, that was ever created in history is the concept of the Abrahamic God himself, because there's nothing more evil than creating hell for sending people to there for eternal torture. But even that is not deserving of somebody going to hell. So I wouldn't even send God to hell if it was real.
To his own hell?
To his own hell if it was real. There's nothing that deserves eternal torture. There's nothing that is deserving of torture, period, whether eternal or not. All right, let me see who else. Okay, Vibrantly is saying Aaron's net worth is $120 million. Oh, wow, this man is rich. Yeah, well, good for him. And good for him for coming out and saying this. Thank you for that. Normalizing questioning religion. This is great. I think if he keeps resisting and doesn't, like now he's seeing a huge reaction, right? So he might back down, but if he doesn't back down, that means a lot of people is going to open the door for a lot of other celebrities and famous people to do the same thing, and I hope he doesn't back down. Please don't back down. People go on Twitter or whatever, show support so that he sees like it's not that one-sided, right? All right.
I definitely support him for saying that, and it is good to have those people out of the closet because it helps other people to come out.
All right, well, let me bring up the next news. Next news.
Iran general says U.S. will definitely regret it if threats continue. The chief of Iran's powerful Revolutionary Guard warned that it will retaliate against American and Israeli commanders if the U.S. continues to threaten top Iranian generals. "I warn them to withdraw from this field," said General Hassan Salami, told state television, adding that if they do not, they will definitely regret it. The head of Iran's judiciary, Ibrahim Raisi, vowed to bring Soleimani's killers to trial and for punishment for this terrible crime. So yeah, the Iranians, I guess this started because an American was overheard making some comments about Iran.
Killing more generals?
Yeah, so a guy named Brian Hook, who's a U.S. Special Representative for Iran, he was speaking to a Saudi-owned Pan-Arabian newspaper at the Davos Economic Forum recently, and he was quoted as saying, about the guy who's replacing Soleimani, whose name is Ghani. He was talking about him, and he said, if he follows a similar path like Soleimani of killing Americans, he will meet the same fate. Any attacks against American personnel or interests in the region will be met with a decisive response. And we will hold the regime and its proxies accountable for any attacks on Americans or American interests in the region. So he made this statement to the Saudi-owned newspaper. They're responding to it saying, you better stop threatening us or you're going to regret it.
I actually support this type of action from United States. I don't support most of United States foreign policy in the region. It's way too much intervention. But this is a great alternative to just take out the generals. Like, this is why I kind of like the taking out of Qasem Soleimani. It's the best way to respond to Iran's aggression without actually going out to full-out war. Like, especially because these generals are just sitting back in Tehran, as not Qasem Soleimani, but the rest of them, and they're just sending their foot soldiers and all these poor people that they have brainwashed to die on their behalf. So if you just, like, if they say, like, oh my god, they're going after us, right? They might take us out. This is gonna scare them. Like, this is getting personal for them. Like, this is like, this is not just like, oh, losing in battle. Like, no, you could actually die, right? And I like them to. Again, people might be like, oh, Armin, you're against capital punishment, but you're for taking out these generals. Yeah, that's not capital punishment. You're in war with this country, and I'm for killing out terrorists on the field in the battle. With a drone or something. I'm completely for that. I'm not okay with killing the terrorists if they're being arrested, if they're handcuffed and they have no weapon or anything. I'm not okay with too much background noise, Rivka. When you move around, sorry, but I'm not okay with capital I'm not okay with capital punishment when they can't, when they're not actually fighting. But yeah, this guy is like, oh, there's going to be consequences. Be very afraid, Americans. Because the reason why I'm saying be very afraid is because they're afraid. They're afraid, and they're like, they want you to stop killing them. And I think, like, no, this is actually one of the few foreign policies by Trump that I support, because it doesn't involve going out into all-right war. It's much better reaction than sending 5,000 troops, 3,000 troops, 10,000 troops here over there. No, just send a drone or send one tactical guy with an RPG or something. Take out a car here, take out a car over there, assassinate this general over here. That's so much cheaper, so much less to the U.S. taxpayer, so much more devastating to a country like to Islamic Republic of Iran, and so much more effective because they care about because they don't care the sheep that they send to war for them to die. They don't care about those lives. They care about their own lives. So even though it's much less expensive, it's going to be more effective. So yeah, I support United States on this specifically.
Well, the Iranians also said, by the way, to them, saying you better watch out. They also said that if the United States didn't stop threatening, that Iran's reaction would be completely different from the past. Yeah. So I'm not sure what that even means. Like, it almost sounds like you better stop it or we're going to really do something.
Yeah.
Different.
They're never specific.
Right.
They don't want to be specific so that they have like options. Right. Derek is saying it's not going to be good if this S continues. Many will die, and Iran does not stand a chance in hell. I'm tired of endless wars. All that money spent on bombs could have fixed our infrastructure and healthcare many times over. Yeah, but this is the better way. Uh, this is a better way to do this. That like this. Hey, paper. This is a better. Sorry. This I can't. Rivko.
I know. I'm sorry, but I can't read it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So this you're saying Derek is saying, oh, this is endless wars and bombs and stuff we could have spent. Well, this is the way to do it. This is the way to do it without the bombs and the endless wars, right? This might first of all, nobody's being bombed. You're just assassinating their top generals, and it actually might end wars because now it's hitting too close to home. Like this is the a lot of people say like, oh, World War III is coming when they're killing Qasem Soleimani. Nothing happened. Nothing happened because Iran knows they can't go out in a direct head-to-head war, full-on combat with the United States. They could only do asymmetrical warfare, and now United States are like, okay, you want to do and Iran does very well at asymmetrical warfare. They're not going to be able to defeat United States at like full-on collision. So United States is responding in a similar way. They're like, you know what? We're not just a giant military. We are also good at covert operations. We could do that as well if you want to do that. And now it's hurting them at much higher level than they anticipated. So this is, I think, might be the most effective way at responding to Iran without actually very expensive troops and bombing out entire cities and stuff. So yeah, this might be a good alternative. All right, what are you going to say, Rivka? Sorry.
I was just going to say that I think for some people in the United States, the issue might be, should the United States military be in the business of assassinating people? And who gets to make those decisions if you're not bringing it to Congress? I think that was some discussion I've heard about from people. So I don't necessarily disagree, and I'm certainly not a pacifist. But I just know that I've heard that discussion from some people.
Yeah,
and that kind of goes back to that authorization to use terrorism, to use force against terrorism. So it's kind of a blank check. So that's some of the discussion I think that I'm hearing from people to some degree on this side. Like,
that's a fair discussion. I'm just saying, compared to going out and bombing like with Baghdad or removing Saddam. Or full-on war, I think this is a better alternative, And we could argue the details of the best process of doing that, but I think this is a better way of responding to Iran's aggression than a full-on war. But yeah, you're right. Those are good discussions to have. Vabe is saying Iran should stop killing its protesters and stop lecturing the U.S. Chris is saying, I think this is just going to wind up being Cold War 2.0. So instead of just World War 2 or 3, he's saying Cold War 2.0. Lots of threats, but no real action. Yeah, I hope so. Actually, that's a very good point, Chris. A lot of people are comparing what's going to happen between the United States and Iran, comparing it to World War II and saying it's going to start World War III. But I think a more closer comparison would be the Cold War between the United States and Russia. The main difference between this and the Cold War is that in the Cold War, United States had a very good branding and advertising as a competing ideology against the communists. So it wasn't just. So both sides understood that this is not just like military might that wins the battle, but it's also an ideological battle. And the United States won that battle not just because of its military might, but because it won the ideological fight. A lot of people in communist countries looked at the way that people in capitalist countries were living, and they were like, yeah, we want that. So they won that ideological battle. But the problem is, because of all this PC nonsense these days, United States cannot. A lot of people are not going into an ideological fight with the jihadists. That, and also I think what would have worked as an ideological fight with this Islamists, like Iran is not just good at covert operations and also asymmetrical warfare with also a lot of networks around the Middle East, but what Iran also is very good at is at the brainwashing and at the ideological battle. Like they know the people there, and they have a lot of ideological influences on the people there. They have all them religious leaders that tells people what they need to hear, and the counter to that should have been for United States to be on the side of, instead of capitalism was the old branding that worked and won the battle. In this day and age, it could have been United States being on the side of human rights for everywhere, at all times, in every country. But they cannot use that branding, especially because they support dictators and they support Saudi Arabia. So whenever they mention human rights, they just sound like hypocrites, especially because the United States sold weapons to Saudi Arabia to drop on Yemeni civilians and cause the greatest humanitarian crisis of our lifetime. So if they talk about like, oh, we're on the side of human rights, yeah, like, you go F yourselves, right? So no, so that branding doesn't work. But that would have been a perfect branding to fight against all these terrorists if they wanted to be consistent with what they support, which they are not. All right, so let me see what the top comment is. The top comment is by Phil. Why is it that whenever you see an Iranian general or imam giving a speech, they always look like they are requesting or requesting a proctology exam? Oh, oh, the finger thing in the air. That's what they're. Okay. All right. So, Rivka, do you want to add anything to that before we go to the next news?
No, I think that you actually hit it on the head with the ideological battle, like with the Cold War. I think that that's really a good point to make, and that it's hard to talk about human rights when you're, holding hands with the Saudis in more ways than one. The other thing that I think that Iran is doing is they know they can't necessarily hit the United States, but they can hit Israel and they can kill people in Israel. So that's also like constantly linked with their discussion, So if they can't get us, well, we'll just get your friends. We'll just kill your friends.
They're closer to us. By the way, we just got a super chat. We got a super chat from Chris. $5 super chat, Chris. The super chat by Chris is saying, when I get my taxes, you guys are getting a cool 100 because you're so awesome. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Chris. Chris is a consistent supporter of Atheist Republic and secular justice. That's so kind. Thank you, Chris. All right, let's go to the last news.
The last and final topic. So, followers of a religious sect were filmed shouting homophobic slurs on the streets of London. Men identified as a part of the fringe Church of Yahawashi, I think, an offshoot of the Hebrew Black Israelites, uploaded footage of their preaching in Dalston, East London. As members of the public walked by, one of the preachers tells the camera, "We just come out of a restaurant and we had 2 faggots in there that we had to..." Oh, I'm not allowed to say that, maybe on YouTube.
Too late.
We had 2 gay people that they call with the name of faggots. That's in the article, though, so it's not me calling.
Yeah, but YouTube's algorithm doesn't recognize that. So but guys...
Okay, I'm sorry. I forgot.
Guys, this video is going to get deprioritized, so please share our videos because nobody's going to see our videos. But yeah, share.
Because I cursed.
Yeah, share
it's
our videos.
It's my fault.
It's okay. No, just share our videos, please. Okay, go
ahead. We had 2 F words in there to keep eyes on them because certain brothers, all of the brothers, we don't like the F word that people use to negatively describe gay people. Some brothers reserve their comments because they want to be doing the slaying. Really, they want to put a sword to you. At the suggestion that they wanted to slaughter gay people or that they would slaughter gay people, other men in the group shouted, "That's right," and "Preach."
Wow, so they're actively out in the streets and telling that they want to, like,
kill gay people.
Kill gay people with a sword? So how are they not arrested? Is that arrestable offense? I don't know.
Well, apparently in London or in England, some of this could elevate to the level of hate speech crime. So that was part of the discussion about.
So they're not yet arrested.
Amongst.
So in London you could say like, oh, I don't like, Islam is a violent religion, and the police is gonna show up at your door, or you could like have some opinions about transgender stuff, and you're gonna get a call from the police. But if you're a black Israelite wanting to run a sword through gay people, like, oh, this might be a hate crime. This might be a hate crime. We're not sure yet. We'll get back to you on that. Like, oh my god. So by the way, for the people that don't know, the black Israelites think like the Jewish people are not really Jewish because Jewish people are black. So it's really hard. So, and they have a lot of, they're very, so it's very confusing for some people because are they considered anti-Semitic or not? Because they are very, very aggressively hateful towards the people that we consider Jews. So in that sense, they're anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish. But at the same time, maybe they're not anti-Jewish because they think they are the Jews and they don't hate themselves. So are they anti-Jewish? They're anti the real Jews, and they're not anti themselves, which they think that the fake Jews. Right. So,
So most of these black Hebrew Israelites were started in the United States in the late 19th century by two guys, Frank Cherry and William Saunders Crawley. And I've dealt with them quite a bit because my degree is in Pan-African Studies, and there's quite a number of them in our local Pan-African Studies group.
Right.
And they have this, most of them are Americans, but they have offshoots all over. And they believe that they, along with like Native Americans and sometimes natives to Latin America, are the true descendants of the Israelites.
Right.
And they adhere to some Jewish and some Christian traditions, and then they make some of their own stuff up. And some of them are like basically black supremacists, kind of like the opposite side of the white supremacy. And they believe that Jews are imposters. And there's a really violent sect called Nation of Yahweh, which was started in Miami in 1979 by this guy who called himself Yahweh ben Yahweh, which means God, son of God.
Yeah.
But he died in 2007. But yeah, they're very anti-Semitic, and a lot of the anti-Semitic attacks that have happened in New York City at the end of the year and beginning of this month, quite a number of them were perpetrated against members of the Jewish community by members of this black Hebrew Israelite community.
Yeah, this would get a lot more attention if these people were white. Like if the alt-right thing, like if these people, they're anti-gay, like imagine if like a bunch of white people were in the streets and saying that we're going to run swords through gay people, and say like, I don't know what else, we're going to have such anti-Semitic comments. This would be picked up by so many news outlets. And I think a lot of people are shying away from covering black Israelites, and a lot of these are not even counted in like alt-right, like right-wing bigotry or any hate crimes or stuff, because they're black, right? And I think it's so unfair that that they get this level of protection just because of the color of their skin. It's really unfair.
I was just gonna say I've had a lot of run-ins with them, and I have found it very difficult to get very few people to support me or to acknowledge that the things that they're saying are anti-Semitic.
Right.
And, a lot of people just really, and it doesn't have to be black people, white people, all kinds of people. But also it's really common for anybody to tell any people or of Jewish descent or who are practicing Jews that what they feel is anti-Semitism isn't. So That's also a big thing. That's very, everyone else gets to define it except for the Jews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So you're a Jewish person, ex-Jew or Jew, whatever. And people tell you that this is not anti-Semitic. So, and you give like, okay, sure, whatever. But Vape is saying, why don't religious people object to homosexual activities in animals? They don't understand that homosexuality is natural. I actually don't like that defense of homosexuality, because a lot of people say homosexuality is natural and it's in nature. To me, is like, even if it wasn't natural, um, if you're not hurting anybody, just do whatever you enjoy. Like, yeah, I understand homosexuality is natural. It's genetics. You don't choose it. But imagine if we lived in a world that you did choose it. Like, you woke up one day and you wanted to be gay. Go. What's wrong with that? Just because even if it was a choice, it would still be okay. You're not hurting anybody. Right? So even if it was natural, like riding a plane is not natural. Me talking to you guys across the planet is not natural. We don't have a problem with that. Yeah, but yeah, I see your point. Chris is saying, during slavery, people justified slavery by claiming that the blacks were the ones cursed by God, a belief that still lives on even today. Vibrantly saying, I think considering oneself better than any other race is racist, even if you're discriminated against yourself, and I find it wrong. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. And actually, Rivka, I consider the Jewish religion as a race supremacist religion, because it considers Jewish people to be like the chosen people and superior to others. Would you agree with that characterization of the Jewish religion?
I think it's tribe supremacy, because there's Jews everywhere, The only thing all Jews have in common is the Torah, right? They all have different nationalities.
That's today, but originally...
Right, they were a tribe, right? And then they went out. So yeah, I think it's tribe supremacy, and you're right. They're chosen, they're special. God picked them. I mean, that's big in the discussion. So some of the discussion will be like, well, why do we have all these rules, or why is it like this or like that? And it's sort of this idea, well, because you need to do what you're told to do because God chose you.
Right.
So don't ask questions. You're chosen.
So a lot of people get offended when I compare the Jewish religion to white supremacy. But I do. I mean, I don't know.
There's definitely a level of that, and there's such a level of misogyny too. I mean, I don't know if people are familiar with the first prayer a very, very religious Jewish man says upon waking. First he goes through the washing his hands. Thank you, God, for commanding me to do this, commanding me to do that. But those are just sort of the thank yous. When he gets to his first prayer, he says, thank you for not making me born a woman.
Right. Vape was saying...
So it's both.
Yeah. Vape was saying, this is a fair point, referring to what I was saying before. Shubham was saying, I get what you're saying, what you mean, like, regarding what I was saying, that doesn't matter if it's natural. So Shubham saying, I get what you mean, and I think the same. However, saying it's not a problem, even if it was a choice, is going to face even more backlash than they already face now. I don't think so. I think like you're saying, like, hey, look, it's natural, but who are you hurting? Like, tell me, show me the harm. If you can't show me the harm, there's nothing wrong with it. I think that's a more consistent way of, I don't know. I disagree. I think it works. It works for me when I keep demanding people to show me the harm and they can't. I think that's an effective strategy. Dave is saying, okay, so this is in response to the headline. The headline was hate preachers filmed threatening to slaughter gay people on the streets of London in broad daylight. It's interesting. I said hate preachers. And it doesn't say black Israelites or something like that. Because if this were white supremacists, it would probably start with white supremacists, right? But yeah, anything to help the poor minority groups. Dave is saying, now flip the script. What do you think would happen if any non-believer said similar thing about theists? They would be at least immediately arrested, at worst shot on sight. Oh, wow, I don't know about that, but okay. Ian is saying, allowed to do so because all religions is now protected in the UK and they are merely exhibiting the teachings of their religious texts. Yeah, this is a mix of black, privilege and religious privilege. And you wouldn't get the same privilege if you were a Christian, by the way, in United Kingdom. Stephen is saying, to be fair, those are natty aprons. Natty aprons. So he's making fun of the clothing that the black Israelites are wearing. I met these people. I mean, another thing is that so in defense of this not getting attention, these guys are so wacky that it's hard to even take them seriously. You know what I mean? Like,
they're small minority too.
Yeah, but they do commit a lot of hate crimes. Like they do a lot of attacks on the Jews are by these people. Anyway, Vibrantly is saying, wash his hands, praises God. He's not a girl. Worst punchline of 2020. Okay. All right. Okay, that was good.
Well, you know what? I wanted to make a comment about the lack of anything really happening. I mean, the only discussion in the article was that these rights groups were saying, this is really bad and that this may rise to the level of hate speech. And we've been watching them and we've told the authorities about them. But that's it. Yeah. They were not even asked to leave the corner. I mean, no police showed up and said, all right, guys, take a hike. Right. Even, I mean,
yeah, see, like
as far as I know, that might have happened, but we just don't know about it. But it's not in the article.
See, when I say Islam is evil, they say, oh, it's a hate crime. But when these people say they want to run swords through gay people, they're like, this might be a hate crime. But again, I think these groups, these anti-hate groups, are scared of going after black Israelites. Like, they don't know what, like, they're, like, trying to test the waters. Like, can we actually say negative stuff about these guys? They're black. Like, we're supposed to protect the blacks, right? So, that's why they're afraid. Right, they're afraid. They're very afraid to talk about them.
And that was a lot of the commentary that was happening around all these attacks in New York City against different people in the Jewish community. And some of the things that people said were actually racist comments, having nothing to do with these people and their, ideology. But then some people were shut down from discussing it because they were, a quote unquote marginalized community. And then some discussion actually blamed the Jews for moving into their neighborhoods or for trying to be in there. So it's their fault that they should kind of expect this. So it ran the gamut, but a lot of it was a lot of leftists saying, you can't talk about their ideology. That's not, you can't do that.
Don't be such a hateful person by criticizing them for wanting to run swords through gay people. Okay.
Right.
That's good. I wonder if they would have
kill Jews or whatever.
I wonder if they would have the same criteria if they were white supremacists. I would
absolutely not.
Imagine if we went to like some of these leftists. Again, hashtag not all leftists, but some of these woke types. Imagine if they were like, oh my God, white supremacists are rising in Europe. We need to do something about it. Imagine if I went to them and be like, look, this is their belief. You have to respect their belief. You can't stop being so hateful against white supremacists. Everybody can believe and practice the ideas that they have. Like, imagine they would be like, what the hell? What's wrong with you? Right? Like
they would call you a white supremacist. Oh, so you're a white supremacist?
Right.
Well, and your point to white supremacy is so true because when a lot of these attacks happen in the U.S., everybody immediately went to white supremacy, and then everyone's like, but they're black Israelites, they're African Americans, they're not white. And people were freaked out about that, and then some people had to delete tweets. I think maybe Rashida Tlaib was one of them, the congresswoman. I could be wrong on that one. And then every time they would discuss it, they would say, yes, there have been these attacks by this group called the Black Israelites, but mostly it's the whites. But it's the whites. They would just circle back around.
So how is that not racist?
That's the real problem.
See, okay, so if somebody said like, oh, somebody stole my bike, right? And then I assume that they're black, I'm a racist, right? If I just assume they must be black, oh, your bike was stolen, right? So how is it not racist when they're like, oh, these are anti-Semite, anti-Jewish people, and then you start tweeting like, oh my God, white supremacy, so you assume that they're white, So you're the racist one here now, because you assume that if somebody is being an anti-Semite, they must be white, right? So you guys are the racists here, and you're right. A lot of people that when you point out, like, actually you guys are wrong. These were not white supremacists; they're actually black. And other people are like, well, it might be true, but white supremacy is still the bigger problem here. Like some people deleted
They're black supremacists, is what they are.
Yeah, they are black supremacists, right? So, but some people deleted their tweets, but a lot of people didn't back down. We're like, well, yeah, this is nothing compared to white supremacy. Like they didn't say like, oh my god, I just assumed this. I shouldn't have. That's not fair. Like they didn't. Like it's such a hypocrisy. Oh my god. Anyways, I'm gonna get very angry. I don't know if YouTube is gonna. Okay. YouTube, this video is completely like we talked about killing gay people, we talked about killing Jewish people.
We had two bad words.
Two bad words. So this video is not gonna make it anywhere. Obviously, we're gonna get demonetized, but all our videos get demonetized. So that's not an issue. The real issue is that we get deprioritized. That means like we're not gonna show up in people's feed. We're not gonna be showed up. Our videos are not gonna be showed in recommended. Even people that are subscribed to us are sometimes not seeing our videos. So that's the real problem that we have with YouTube, because they don't like us. So please share our videos, because YouTube is not letting our channel grow. That's how channels grow. The channels grow not because you're posting it on Facebook or Twitter stuff. It's because you show up in other people's recommended section, and we don't get that as much as we're supposed to be, like if we weren't talking about controversial stuff. So we really need you guys to share our videos, so please do it. Vibrantly send us a super chat. Thank you so much. Vibrantly saying, look into the New York riot in 1977. Black anti-Jewish mob killed two and injured 190. Thank you so much, Vibrantly. Thank you so much for the super chat. Very, 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 very kind. That's and Vibrant is saying it's calling the 1977 blackout. All right, love you guys. Thank you for everything. Thank you, Siga. Thank you, Rivka. I don't know how we would do this without you. You saved our. You saved us.
Even though I rustled some papers and used two bad words, I'm gonna try not to.
No, it's okay. Don't get upset if I tell you that. Okay, that's right. No, but you.
I'm just kidding. Yeah. I'm just kidding.
But you do so much research on every new, like the value added on our videos have become so much more because the amount of background research you do on our videos. So thank you for that.
Thanks.
All right.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.